refresh this.
Are we gonna be able to see them?
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do.
Think we can do this right now?
They can see you.
Okay.
You need to understand, do you do that?
Did you get to learn the magic word?
Thank you.
But I have to only come to try.
There we go. All right, can y'all hear us?
Yes.
I guess so. Okay. Okay, so it is 9:04. We will call this meeting of the Texas State Board to order. I'm gonna have Megan take roll. Not sure where everybody is
Julie Spear,
here.
Suzette Tiarina.
Suzette,
I can see Suzette. Suzette, can you hear us? Can we message Suzette and see if she can hear us? Okay, we're waiting on Suzette. Donna Montemayor.
Here.
Lori Hinkie. Rick Fernandez.
Here.
Connie Lewis, Jenny Yoakum. Jenny. She might be having the same issue. Daniel Guerrero. Bradley Miller. Ian Shaw.
here.
Rick Tisch. Suzette, are you able to hear us now?
We do not have a quorum. They cannot hear us.
No. Let's see if we can get them to where they can hear audio.
Jenny's doing your computer.
Lily, were you able to chat Suzette?
I'm not saying there's not like a chat option.
Is there something they should try?
Well, the first thing would be to make sure that they're connected to audio. And if that doesn't work, we can get them to call in.
Here.
Oh, Jenny, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you now.
Yay, now it's just Suzette.
Now we need Suzette.
I just sent her a message to ask her to make sure she's connected to audio.
Okay.
I'm trying to, Donnie is in the attendees. I'm trying to vote into panelists. It doesn't work.
Johnny said he's watching.
Oh,
He asked if he was.
Oh, I think it's me. Then.
He has to have both audio and video to participate. Okay,
Suzette, can you hear us now?
see if you can pull him over.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good. We can hear you. Oh, perfect.
Okay.
And we
Okay,
will reflect that Donnie was.
Honey Lewis. Okay, we have a quorum.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. And we have a very short agenda, so I do not think that this meeting will take. We wanted to apprise everybody of where we are, what's going on. And we'll let you know. So as far as the agency goes, we've continued our weekly meetings with all of our functional groups. All are on track and are reporting doing well. We have offered a position for the budget analyst. We have a few more vacancies that we're looking to fill, but we're super excited about the fact that on Friday we did put forth an offer to a budget analyst, and hopefully we'll hear back today to whether or not he's going to accept that position. As far as legislation goes, we've had a lot of different things going on. Yesterday, Ian was in the Senate for a Senate confirmation hearing. That all went very well. So we're glad that that's done. Suzette was called up, but and the last minute said that she did not have to come. So we're super glad about that. They did ask, the questions they asked Ian were in relation to PMP and our ED position, and he answered both of those very, very well. The House yesterday heard our the cleanup bill, which predominantly, has to do with the insulin rules we had to make after the last legislative session to kind of fix the issue with the size of the boxes and what's in there. TFDS did testify for the bill. They're carrying it. And their VP, or I'm sorry, their Secretary Treasurer, Amy, and I get that we changed the titles. I think it was VP, did testify and did a great job on that. So it did pass through, as pending. So it goes out to the entire House. As far as the May 10th deadline for filing bills, I'm sorry, March, I'm already going towards the end of the legislation. There was no bill filed for the ED to not to have to be a pharmacist. It could, there's lots of things that happen between now and the end of May. So something could occur where it, maybe becomes a rider on a bill, but as it stands now, there is no bill with that in there. The House Appropriations bill came out favorably as far as our exception items. Our positions were approved, rates were approved. They did not approve our ED salary increase. So at this time, as far as the House goes, that will not be in there. There's still chances that, things can occur in the House. The other part of it is the Senate has not said anything as far as our exceptions there and the budget. So they could come from the House or some from the Senate side, and we could have traction that way. So we'll still wait to see what the Senate has, and be able to, once everything is settled, be able to post and know what we're supposed to, what we'll be able to offer and who to. Supplemental bill, which was that Senate Bill 30, passed the Senate and was voted favorably out of the House. And so that is the 5% raise for the state employees for July and August. So we're very appreciative of both the House and the Senate for seeing the need. And, really looking to make sure that we're able to do that. So I'll stop there and see if Megan has any other legislative updates and then see if there are any questions.
No, I mean, there've been a few other bills who have gone through committee at this point. And we're just watching closely to see where they do go. There were a couple others that weren't quite as big as our cleanup bill that happened at the House Public Health hearing yesterday. And then I'm hoping, after the hearings of this week have concluded, to get you guys another legislative chart out so you can, see the status of the ones that are pharmacy related that we're tracking.
Do you make sure when that comes out? I mean, I know that you may get them in another fashion as well, but do make sure when those come out that you read through them. There are a lot, especially, around the PrEP Act, and making parts of that permanent. So, there will need to be possibly some things that we have to do, depending upon what comes out and what's passed. So having a good base knowledge of the bills will really help us when we move forward past the end of May. Are there any questions?
Yeah, quick question. This is Ian. Do we know, is the PrEP Act going to be finalized, everything finalized at the end of this session?
When you say the PrEP Act, do you mean the legislative bills in Texas?
Yes.
Involving the federal PrEP Act? So there's several, like Julie said, there's several that could, make some of those. So the PrEP Act is huge. But that could make, some of the portions of the PrEP Act that relate to pharmacy, they could put that into Texas law and allow that to continue. So if it did pass, it could, be finalized.
And it's really different bills. So you really have to kind of read through there. So,
Okay.
An immunization bill that would allow pharmacists to continue to immunize either 3 and up or 7 and up, based upon what's approved by ACIP and ACIP's agreed vaccines. That also has in there the ability for pharmacists to continue to delegate to technicians the ability to immunize. There's a separate one, regarding text. And then there's also some things like test and treat, which basically follows the Paxlovid and some things like that. And then there's some other things in there that we'll need to look at if, depending upon how they come out, such as doctor dispensing. So like I said, there's a lot in there right now. So it's important to stay current with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so last meeting, Jenny asked a really, really good question about the signing of orders and the things we had delegated to the ED. And so one of the things that, I've kind of thought through, and I'm glad that that 2 people are on here because I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Is when it comes up to the failed to practice and the revocations that occur after those investigations are done. In conferring with Megan, what I would like to do is, instead of that being an ED signature or head of agency right now, I'd like to make it a 3-person panel. And we'll probably need a motion and a vote on this. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Ian as a public member and Jenny to be the other 2 people that will review those and sign. That way we can keep the process going, but it's not just one signature on there.
So these would be for the failure to operate revocation board orders. So as you're all aware, we have that statute that allows us to revoke them if they don't ask for a hearing within a certain period of time. Once we've established that they're, failing to operate. And with these, these are the ones where, there's nothing in the building, nothing's happening, like there's, no dispensing, no drugs in there, like the very obvious, like they're not operational. And those are, board orders, which are a little different than the other, ED or head of agency entered orders where they're agreed to by the respondent. These are not agreed to by the respondent. So that's why we're looking at them a little bit more closely.
And there's really no conflict of interest in keeping it the way it is. But there could be a perceived conflict of interest based upon, my position with my company. So this way, it's really, to me, it's a little cleaner. We can continue to do it the way it is, but I thought that this was a better way to do that. Questions, comments, answers? Jenny, Ian, are you willing to do that?
I am.
I am. So how would that work, Julie? I mean, just we review something and via email and then
Yeah, we have electronic signatures. They don't come up often. But they do come up periodically. So we would be emailed all of the data. And then the three of us would, through an email, make a determination, and then they can use our electronic signatures. So it wouldn't have to be something to come into town for.
perfect.
Do we need a motion and vote on that?
We can. It's a change of procedure. So it would be a change in the way that you delegate it. So it wouldn't hurt to do a motion and a vote.
Okay. If there are no concerns, can we get a motion and a second on that, and then we'll take a vote on it?
Motion.
So moved.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes then. Okay, so our last thing is just to, discuss our ED position and kind of where we are and get people's thoughts. We reached out to the governor's office again yesterday, and we still do not have an answer. Last time we met, we had asked whether or not the governor would grant a waiver so that potentially we could have Megan be a interim and kind of structure around that. We have not yet to get an answer on that. What we're doing is working. Staff is really doing well with it. But we don't have an answer on that. So we can't move forward yet or do anything with that. This is my thoughts, but I really need for people to weigh in and think this through. We're 2 minutes into this. Basically, we have, according to the count from yesterday, I believe 62 days left in legislation. So basically, we've got 2 more months. My thought is before we put out a posting, we need to know exactly what the salary will be, and we need to know who all we're posting to. So my thought is we will have a regular May meeting. We'll be able to review everything at that point again, but post the 1st of June and start our selection at that point. So I really need from y'all what your thoughts are as far as that plan of action. Suzette?
Yeah, can staff sustain the current model? If everything is okay and we can do it for another, couple of months?
I think we can. The teams are running pretty smoothly. I don't think there's any issues there. Julie's here, Julie and I both are here for, the weekly meetings with everybody. And that's been very, very helpful. I think we're all communicating really well. I do think it's sustainable. If Julie will keep giving us her time.
Yeah, no, that's a given. I think the nice thing that's come out of these weekly meetings is we've seen collaboration between the teams so that, you know, as something's come up, they're like, oh, well, so-and-so could do that. And that's something that was a little lacking. So I think that it's really strengthened the team as a whole.
Okay, thank you for the update. I mean, I'm in favor of waiting until we get a more definitive answer on the salary. Again, that will potentially change the candidate pool. So maybe that'll be better for the board.
Other thoughts?
Donnie, you'll have to unmute. It looks like you're trying to speak. I think there should be a button towards the bottom.
Okay, Julie or Megan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I think it's a great idea to wait until June, like Suzette said. But I think maybe there's, you know, if you don't mind, Julie, letting us help you more, and Megan, you know, letting everyone do some more work, it's probably good if y'all don't mind doing the lion's share of everything.
Yeah, I mean, as things have come up, I mean, and you were brilliant with the informal conferences, you know, that, you know, Donna, Lori, and Ian are each taking a day of my informal conferences, which really that freed up a lot of time. The weekly meetings, I mean, it's kind of like any other team. When you have consistency, it's the momentum keeps going and it stays, I don't want to say cohesive, but that's the best word, cohesive. You know, we could have somebody come and sit in on a weekly meeting, but I think changing up who's leading it would be a little disruptive. But as tasks come up, speaking engagements, Rick's going to go do an ACPE site visits at UNT. You know, as things come up, we'll continue to farm them out to the board members so that everybody is taking part.
Brad's doing one, right?
Brad's going to speak at TSHP with Iona.
But that's to me, that's a great way the board can be involved also.
I
And
agree.
and you know, that's important.
And I think staff really does appreciate how much support they're getting from the board members now. I think they do see that.
Okay.
Not that you weren't supportive before, but it's very apparent now.
Mr. Fernandez.
Hey, Julie.
Yeah, yes, sir, Donnie. Wait just a second. Rick. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I didn't see who was. I'll wait.
No
No,
problem,
you're
Donnie.
good. Go ahead, Donnie.
My question is, if we delay the hiring or even posting out the job posting out, what happens to those funds that we're not using? I know they're just sitting somewhere. What happens to those for the ED position?
That is a great question, Donnie. I had that same question. So the ED salary is different than the other staff salaries. It's a line item of its own. And
Yeah.
so we really want to get that budget analyst in so they can give us a definitive answer on what does or does not happen with those funds. We're not sure if we can use them for anything else because they are a line
Okay.
item. So it's possible that, you know, it'll end up general revenue if we're not able to use it for something else.
Well, you know, just, you know, like a lot of companies, Julie,
Yeah, it's a great question that we have as well.
well, you know, if you use some of it for a sign or something, if there's a possibility for anything like that, for maybe incentivize someone to get a bonus, you know, to come on board with a lower salary. I'm just asking if any of those things were possible.
I think the budget analyst is going to allow us the ability to ask some of those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Mr. Fernandez.
Hey, good morning. Two quick questions and I'll let you answer. Remind me if we made any adjustments to the number of people attending informal conferences. And secondly, mechanics of this rider you're talking about. If there is a posting after June and the committee doesn't feel they have a good applicant, what are our options thereafter if we needed to do something different?
So we'll go one. I'll take them one at a time. So as far as the informal conferences, we've left it with the 2 board members. If you remember back when you and I and Donnie and Suzette and Jenny started, it used to be only 1 board member. So we still have both board members, there to weigh in and give their opinions. And so we've left that in place. We're still very functional. And so we just left that the way it was. As far as a rider, obviously, being state employees, we cannot lobby, we cannot do anything. So I will make sure that everybody remembers that. Our state officials, sorry, they were not really.
Just me, I'm the only employee.
We're not paid. So the way that a rider works, and I'll give you probably a really old example. But if you remember back in the 90s when SOMA became a controlled substance, that went in as a rider at the last minute. A lot of people were caught off guard because they didn't know about it. So a rider just tags on to an existing bill that's already been filed. It's out of our hands whether or not that occurs. It'll still have to go through the same legislative process. When session's over, if nothing happens, then nothing happens, and it'll be 2 years unless a special session is called. So whatever comes out of the legislative session, that's where we'll be until 2 years from now. So if we interview all the people that apply and we feel like we do not have a good candidate, it's like probably you and I and Donna and Suzette currently do. You would repost and then try to cast a wider net from there.
Okay, thank you.
Did I get all your questions?
Yes, Julie, thank you.
That was kind of rapid fire there.
Is
All right.
an amendment not a rider though? Is that the question? Is that the difference? I just don't know how, just asking in general. Is that an amendment to the bill or?
Brad has joined.
And we're gonna reflect that Brad has joined. Brad, thanks for getting on. I'm not sure the correct.
So it can go a couple of different ways, Rick. Sometimes you'll see a committee substitute, and that's probably what you're thinking of as an amendment. So they'll do a committee substitute that, makes some changes to the draft bill that's going through. And then sometimes you see the riders, which are tacked on to a different bill. So it might not be in the original language that was already in the draft bill. So you could see it different ways that it could come about. And then, as you know, it has to go through both sides of the legislature. So anywhere along that process, you could have some changes made.
Yeah, it's confusing how that works. I thought a rider had to do with a financial change. And it was something, but I just don't know enough about it. I want to just make sure in the end of the day that we give the committee the best opportunity to interview the best applicants we have there. So, and I don't want the time to elapse and not have that option for a while, can't count on a special session. And while we're maintaining, you all have done a fantastic job maintaining the day-to-day operation. As the director sets the culture and the tone of the board, and just the risk not to have that in place. Just wanted to make sure we've got everything kind of mapped out so we don't have a missed opportunity to get the right best person in that role.
Agreed. Agreed. Any other comments, questions?
Hey, Julie, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Question is, have you thought about a group, a committee to interview the next person, not just how do you foresee that to work? Or whether how do you want that to work?
Okay, so we're kind of losing you a little bit. I think your question is, have we thought through our committee? And I have not yet. I mean, just like, you know, when Allison was hired, when Tim was hired, a search committee would be put together. I will appoint individuals, and we'll look to get that in place.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? So the only other thing that I have is right now, it looks like Ian, Rick, Donna, myself are going to NABP. There's still time to register. We do have the potential for one grant from NABP. I think it's up to $1,500. So, you know, if funds are the issue, then, you know, let's look at that. But we do have 4 going, and that'll be great to have
Hey,
more
Julie,
people.
when is
Yes.
that?
Second week of May.
Okay,
I have my calendar in front of me.
okay, thank you.
All right, that is the extent of our agenda. And the update, is there anything else that needs to be discussed?
I will just say thank you, Julie and Megan, for taking care of us so well.
Well, it is an honor and privilege to take care of the staff and to make sure that we're taking care of the citizens of Texas and all we do. So
I'll see y'all on Tuesday. I see.
See you on Tuesday, Donnie.
Thank you, dear.
all right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Donna. All those in favor, raise their hand.
Aye.
All right. Conclude this meeting, and thank you for all that y'all do.